Hi, Cleveland County. You all are in for a treat. You're not going to believe this. We're going to be filming this whole entire half hour dwelling on molasses, and this only happens once a year. Am I correct?
You're correct. Usually
Yeah.
September,
Good deal.
October.
And I am here with the Willises, Rodney and Lynn. And we're in the middle of their farm. What we can see of it, there's a carp pond down there. I saw a big one floating around. Mm-hmm. We're in front of this log building here that Rodney put together. He tore down a building in the woods and put it together, and that's his hobby. Can I say that?
Yes.
Yeah. And your molasses is your living.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's tell these people the name of your farm,
okay,
and kind of where you're located.
Okay.
And probably we could start off by saying where you sell your molasses.
Okay. So we've been selling our molasses mostly out of the farm right here.
Okay.
We have gone around to some of the local stores, hardware stores, places like that, and sold them some. So some of it's been sold through that. But this year we've been mostly currently from the farm here and 3 hardware stores.
Well, listen, how did you even think about doing all this, Rodney?
I'll let Lynn tell you that story.
Oh, good. Remember, speak up.
I'm the cause of all of it, I think.
Oh, great.
My father actually made sorghum syrup molasses whenever I was a small child. He passed away when I was 4, and my grandmother moved the whole process from here. This is actually the farm.
The original farm.
And we moved it up to her house, and she produced molasses for 7 more years.
Wow. Herself, well, with help.
She had really good help.
Right.
Folks that lived on the farm.
Right.
And so we went to actually see a friend of ours making molasses, and he didn't think he was going to get me to leave. We needed to come home, and he said, "We're pulling a trailer and we need to get home." And I said, "I don't want to leave.
They need me. This is my history right here." Oh, good for you.
Next thing I know, he had found a horse mill that was run by horses.
Oh, yes.
And we went and looked at it and brought it home that day. So the rest is history.
Yeah, so we started in 2014. Up until last year, we always used a horse walking in the circle with the mill. So we graduated up to a 1930s vintage.
Okay.
mill.
Okay.
Instead of late 1800s.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, that's fun to know that actually happened.
Oh yeah.
You know, in our lifetime. Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, we're gonna stop. We're gonna just pause right now while we change venues, and we're gonna head over to where we can see the cane going.
I've seen too many women with breast cancer who could have avoided extensive treatment or even death had they gotten an annual mammogram. If you're 40 or older, get a mammogram every year. To find an accredited center, visit mammographySavesLives.org.
Hey everyone, I'm Tim Wisher, welding instructor at Cleveland Community College, and today I'd like to take a little time and tell you about what we do here. Welders are in demand. We offer a certificate program and we offer a diploma program. It takes about a year to come through our program. We offer morning and evening classes here at CCC. We have the lowest student to instructor ratio in the state. We do real life simulation. We do API 1104 downhill pipe welding. We also do D11 structural steel code and ASME welding as well. We have AWS certified welding inspectors on staff. If you want to learn more about our welding program, you can give me a call directly at 704-669-4077 or on the Community College website at clevelandcc.edu.
Between your job, your family, and other demands on your time, life can get pretty hectic. So we want you to take time for yourself. Hi, I'm Jennifer Harrell, and I want you to join me for your health. Each month, the Cleveland County Health Department and C19 TV will explore topics that affect you and your family's health. We'll discuss the importance of exercise, a healthy diet, and regular health screenings and checkups. From fitness tips to warning signs to the latest healthcare news. For Your Health will help keep you in shape and up to date in Cleveland County. We want you to be your best, so join us each month for Your Health, right here on Spectrum Cable and online, c19.tv.
Well, we're back, Cleveland County, and we're here, Rodney, by your pile of sorghum cane, and it's hard. You know, I'm gonna, it's like you could hurt somebody with one of those.
Yeah, sort of like a bamboo in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And so this was cut. How many days ago did you say?
See, it would have been 5 days ago, I think, 6 days ago.
Okay, okay. And you've got it stacked here because the juicer's right over there.
Right.
And believe it or not, we're waiting till the shade comes so it won't be so hot to making the juice out of this.
Right.
So, and again, you're going to take pictures of how you cut it.
Right.
So you all will be able to see that as well. And then it's just a matter of labor intensive of getting this to the juicer.
Right. Some people, one of the things I want to be sure people understand is everybody in these parts call it molasses. And it's really not molasses, it's sorghum syrup. Sorghum syrup comes from the cane that it's named after. And so when I tell people I'm growing sorghum, they look at me like, what are you talking about?
Right.
So most people just call it cane.
But you were also saying that molasses is what you get from...
It's a byproduct of processing white sugar.
White sugar.
Yeah.
So we've all learned a whole lot here, Rodney.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
So sorghum, molasses...
Sorghum syrup.
Sorghum syrup,
Yeah.
thank you, yes, is what we're making here.
Right. So on my label, I say pure sorghum syrup, molasses. So
good.
people will understand what it is.
Right. It's either one or the other, but it's the same thing.
Right.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to be waiting until the shade comes, so stand by again, and you won't know when he's standing by, but, it'll just flow real easy, so keep with us.
Cleveland Community College has identified strengthening online learning as the topic for its quality enhancement plan. We're calling it SOUL. SOUL's 5-year implementation plan is focused on continuous improvement of online courses and promoting student success. We're excited for you to take this journey with us.
Well, here we are. This is the grinding machine, or the mill. Is that what you call it? The mill. So once this starts, we will not be able to hear anything. So we've got to talk about it now so you'll understand what he's doing. So Rodney, you got it.
So we'll bring the cane up here, position it so it's easy to feed, and we'll feed it here. We'll put the stalk in just like so. You'll see the rollers turn once we power it up, and it'll squeeze, and you'll be able to see the juice just running out down here. It'll run into a bucket with a strainer, and then into the hose going into the building where Lynn's at, and then she's straining it again.
Right. She said there what, 3 strains that you go through?
And 2 more inside.
And 2 more inside. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And
then,
so rather than the horse, we're using the tractor to pull at the power takeoff to do the wheel thing.
Right. You got a flat belt drive off the little farm off Super A. And then we also have a old grain conveyor here that we use to carry away what we call the pummies. The pummies being the leftover stalk after the juice is removed.
So it's probably really, just almost.
Yeah.
So what do you spread it out?
You can compost it. You can compost it. I had one person that took it and fed it to his cows.
Oh yeah. Well, that would be good for
so
the
if somebody's
got
a dump trailer and they want some pummies, come see me.
Okay. And pummies, that must be a Cleveland County word.
That's all I've ever heard it called.
I'll be darned. Well, that's great. Okay. Well, his shade's about come, so just stand by. We're waiting for the sun to go west.
She gets her hair from her mom, her eyes from her dad, and her drugs from her home medicine cabinet. Fact: more people die from drug overdoses than from car crashes or gun violence. And over 50% of those deaths are from prescription drugs. Prescription drug abuse is preventable. 1. Secure and take regular inventory of our medications. 2. Dispose of unused or expired medications. 3. Share this message with others. Be aware, don't share, lock your meds.
Here in Cleveland County, many children struggle to develop due to the lack of guidance and shortage of positive role models. At the Boys and Girls Club, we make it our team's mission to aid your child in becoming a better student and, more importantly, a better person with a brighter future.
When your child comes to the club, you can be assured they are being guided in a manner that is beneficial to the growth as an adult that is visible in their lives. Please consider giving your child the opportunity to be the absolute best they can possibly be.
Please support your local Boys and Girls Club today.
Well, folks, good afternoon again. We had to bring in Nancy Abasiekong so that you know why you need to eat sorghum, however that happens. So, and I have to tell you the setting. We started out with Rodney and Lynn Willis talking about introduction to all of this, and we were on one side of his log cabin that he resurrected from out in the woods. We're on the porch of this same house, and there's a wraparound porch, and there's all this farm equipment here. This place is just amazing. So I'm glad, Nancy, you were here today to be able to see all this, excuse me, and experience this.
I am too. It has been fascinating, really.
Good.
To see. Thank you.
Yes,
Glad we could be here.
Well, so tell us about sorghum.
Yes. Sorghum is, it's a product that's old. You know, it has been 100 years ago. Families were using sorghum as their sweetener. Sure. And then in the 30s and 40s, when sugar became scarce, or somewhat scarce, sorghum and molasses and honey and so forth, those liquid sweeteners became more popular and were used as a substitute.
And for cooking and everything.
That's right. For cooking, for sweetening, for even medicinal purposes. You know, there would have been some of that. Because with sorghum syrup, often, this was before they had the multivitamins that we take now as a supplement.
Right.
So often a physician or a doctor, you know, maybe would have prescribed each day for persons to take a little bit of the molasses or the sorghum.
Okay.
You know, because you do have the natural minerals. And this is a sweetener, but it retains its sweetness and also the natural different minerals that are just natural to it. Things like iron, zinc, calcium, phosphorus, many different things in different amounts, even protein, some protein.
Yeah, well, I'll be
so quite fascinating to learn, as I have been learning about sorghum and sorghum syrup.
Right. Well, I believe there, and just this is an aside that we were talking about as we were cooking this stuff. There are two ways to spell syrup: SYRUP or SIRUP.
Yes.
And I don't know if that designated the difference in between syrups and syrups, or
I don't know. I did not find that in the research I have done. But it is interesting that there are two spellings, and when we're researching or looking for recipes and different things, we might be open to that additional spelling.
Certainly, what a great idea. Some of these old-timey recipes may spell it differently.
Right, right. And there are cookbooks that have recipes, or if you need to, if you have a recipe that calls for a liquid sweetener, whether it's maple syrup or honey or molasses, you can substitute the sorghum syrup. Now you'll have to do some maybe experimenting to check and see just exactly how much, and if you are using it in a baked product, maybe something that called for sugar and you want to use a liquid sweetener, then you would adjust the other liquid in the recipe as well as the sweetener.
Certainly.
It's not that you would never, it appears from what I have researched, you would not use all sorghum syrup, but you could use a portion.
Okay.
And that would vary depending on what the item is. If it's maybe a more savory product, you might be using it in baked beans or a barbecue sauce or even a salad dressing.
Right.
So that would be much easier to adjust, and a lot of that would be taste and preference. But if you're doing it in a baked good, maybe a gingerbread cookie,
right,
or a gingerbread, the cake gingerbread, or other types of recipes like that, it might take a little bit of adjusting. So make notes as you're doing your
calculating.
Yeah, as you calculate and you try something, which is often with cooking. We'll start with the recipe, but we might make adjustments suited to our own taste.
Right.
So we can be open to that.
Well, and this may be theoretical, but do these different flavors, like honey, would be sweeter than sorghum, maybe the same amount?
Sorghum is a little sweeter than sugar, and I'm not sure about honey. Actually, in looking, I'll have to refer back to that. But we'll have some of that information on our clevelandcountykitchen.org website.
Oh, that'd be great.
Because we're looking for a fact sheet, from one of the universities or from the Sorghum Syrup Association that will give us some factual research-based information that we can share.
Certainly, and I hope you took that acronym down.
Yes.
The whatever it was.
I don't remember it right at the moment.
Whatever it was, yeah. Because that would be a really good source for if you want to know about sorghum, that would be the best source for that.
Right, and we might on our website list some things like that, whether the fact sheet comes from that source or not. We can give you a point of reference for additional information. Now, one thing that comes to mind, just like with honey, sorghum syrup can crystallize, and if it does, what do you do?
Well, I'd put it in hot water.
Okay,
the
perfect.
Base of the jar.
Right, unscrew the lid, take the lid off, and then you can put it into a bowl of hot water, or just for a few seconds. If it's in a microwave safe jar or container, you can put it in the microwave for just a few seconds at a time.
Yes. Yes.
And when we think about storing sorghum syrup, often we keep things in the refrigerator, but sorghum syrup is not. You don't need to keep it in the refrigerator. Again, like honey and your other sweeteners, it can be left at room temperature, but it does not hurt it to be refrigerated, except it will thicken.
Right.
And then before you can use it, you'll have to soften
Let it warm up or
right.
put it in hot
put it back
water.
to room temperature, put it in the hot water, take out a small amount and let that warm up or something, if you're keeping it for an extended period of time. But otherwise, you would store it just like you would your honey, molasses, and your other similar products. But remember, sorghum syrup has calories. You know, it is a sweetener.
It is a sweetener. I probably ate about 1,000.
You had a few calories there.
1,000 today, but folks, it was so good.
Right, and it's not every day.
No, it's
so.
I mean, when you're there, you have to do it.
You need to taste it. That's right.
Exactly.
So as we are using it, though, that just reminds us again, like with all sweeteners, you know, we are trying to limit the amount of added sugars that we consume.
Correct.
So this would be in that same category. And for diabetics, we would caution that because this does have a higher sweet and the calories and so forth, so it's not really recommended for diabetics.
Right.
As no sugar is. You treat it with caution like you would other carbohydrates. So in moderation, knowing how your blood sugar is affected and so forth, but in general, not recommended for diabetics as other sweeteners. You know, you would have to.
Well, that yes, and of course that is always such a caution for people that have diabetes.
That's right.
Especially in the season that we're in,
right?
And the virus thing, and you know.
That's right. We don't need another issue to go to make a chronic health condition even more of a hazard.
Correct.
So.
Well, I did have one question. I know at some periods of time, honey was used as a healing something. If you had a wound, they put honey on it to keep the bacteria out. And
right, I'm not familiar with that.
Okay.
And in the research I have done to date, I have not seen any reference to that.
Okay.
And as you're shopping, as consumers are shopping, there is a logo that we can look for, but not all for sorghum syrup.
Right.
But sorghum syrup molasses products won't necessarily have that logo.
The logo.
So that's
right.
not our only indicator. But because this is now often done by small family farms, more of a niche market,
right.
then we can often get to know our vendor, our farmer.
Absolutely.
Our farm family, certainly, as we do today.
Mm-hmm.
And how wonderful that is. So we can ask questions, we can be more informed about their label, which will always have ingredients, which would be the sorghum syrup. It'll have an address, it'll have the name of the producer, and so forth. So there still are some standard things, whether we are buying it off the farm or purchasing at a farmer's market, or maybe in a roadside stand or something.
Right.
So we can always look for labeling, and then if we see that logo, you know that is the sorghum syrup logo, and does not indicate the molasses, as we understand.
All right, Lynn. Well, are you ready?
We're ready.
You've got the most important part right here.
No, this is the easiest part.
It may be the easiest, but all that work, and if you don't bottle it, nobody knows your good work.
Right.
So this is
good assistant here.
And I see it. That takes two people. Gracious sakes. And Ronnie was able to do all this. He just created this to make this happen. Am I correct?
Put everything together to make it easier.
Yeah. And these are pint jars?
These are pint jars.
Okay. Well, we can tell you've done this before. You know when to cut it off.
Sometimes.
And where to position. Well, you're doing good right now, and you're on camera, so you ought to be nervous.
Don't brag on her yet.
Don't brag on me yet.
Hydraulic or your pulley system?
Yeah. I mean, she is good. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, no. I see that.
Will happen.
Now, and my question, because I'm sure the audience needs to know, evidently the syrup has been cooled enough that you can handle the jars.
Actually, this part right here is the hottest.
Is it?
More than the jars.
Okay. So,
It's not right now, it's not too bad.
Okay.
But it will get hotter as we continue to jar.
And that's because it's had less time to cool?
Right.
Okay. And of course, this is making me hungry. I have to tell you folks, I've been testing some of this, some of their other runs. Could be addictive. I need butter though, and a biscuit.
The cat head biscuit.
Cat head, yeah, those are down at what, Strawberry Hill? Or do you make them?
I have before.
Cat head biscuits is a big old biscuit.
Yeah, I know. Well, Strawberry Hill.
Oh, okay.
Down in South Carolina, I mean, that's their big calling card. They make cat head biscuits. All right, Rodney. Well, we're about ready to close up because you're just about done with this. We've got Lynn putting it in jars. And, of course, we can't thank you enough. But there is one more thing we need to talk about, is the association that you all belong to.
Right.
Which really enhances what you do. You have peers you can talk to and network with.
Right.
So
I took advantage of that a lot in trying to figure out what to do with this building I build and how to do the processing, the cooling, all that was networking with the National Sweet Sorghum Producers and Processors Association. And you can go to their website, NSSPPA.
Oh, that's too fast. NSSPPA. Okay.
And you can find out more information about sorghum, nutritional values,
recipes.
Yes, there's a lot of information there.
That'd be great.
They sell a cookbook there that has the sorghum recipes in it also, and then they just have some available on the website.
Sure. And the home base is Tennessee, am I correct with that?
The executive secretary lives in Georgia. It rotates. They have a board of directors, so
Okay.
I don't know that we really have we have a meeting, an annual meeting, typically in Pigeon Forge in February of each year.
Okay.
So if someone's wanting to join and learn more about it, I suggest that they try to attend that meeting.
And that's the meeting date and all, conference should be on the website.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that sounds good, folks. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this. It's been kind of a saga, but are you not fascinated with the process? And this goes on in Cleveland County. God, it doesn't get any closer than that. So expect to find the sorghum at the farmer's market and all the other places that Rodney mentioned. So thank you, Rodney.
Thank you for coming.
Lynn, thank you for doing this. And Mr. Leonard, for being the man on the raising that thing. Woo! It's been fun, folks. Hope you've learned a lot. Thanks for watching.